Yo, what up guys, Travic here. Today I wanted to talk about Path of Exile 2, and I kind of want to split this video up into two separate parts. The first half of this video is going to be, pretty much spoiler free, and the second half we're going to dive a little bit into some information. But before we begin, let's talk about why this video came into existence. A lot of you guys have recently been asking me like what my plan is for early access, and then, well, as it may come to no surprise to many of you, I plan on playing Monk. Monk is one of those really cool ascendancies that for a while now I've always wanted in Path of Exile. I've played Monk in, Diablo 3. I've always played like Monk style classes and other ARPGs. I like the idea of like the whole quarterstaff, kung fu, flipping all around, beating people up, kind of like, I don't know, just that whole fantasy mechanic is just like really interesting to me. So when Path of Exile 2 announced that a monk was in the game, I was all over it. I even way back in the day released a video where I thought a monk class was possibly coming to Path of Exile 2, and I had a fun little prediction about it. Now, if you're interested in that video, I'll have the description down below for you guys, and you can check that out as well. It's a little bit of an older video, and well, I was just really excited. Now, as you can see, Path of Exile 2 at the time of recording is 7 days away, and that means it is right around the corner. And I know, like some of you've probably consumed a ton of information about it, while others have really not looked into a whole lot of information. For me personally, my plan outside of selecting Monk is I want to just kind of go in relatively blind. The only thing that I will say is when you pick your class and you start playing Path of Exile, the only reason why I'm so locked in on what I'm doing is because, well, while this may be a little spoiler, is probably relevant to say, is you can't in early access change your ascendancy. So you kind of want to make sure what you pick is what you're going to play. Now, for me, I'm very well aware that I know the campaign is going to take about, a day, maybe two, maybe three, maybe even a little bit longer to get through, my first playthrough. So I don't want to rush, man. You get one shot, one opportunity to sit and enjoy this game for what it is the first time that it comes out with the entire community. And to me personally, it's not something I really want to rush. I really want to spend some time. I want to explore. I want to enjoy it. I want to mess up and I want to figure it out. And to me, that sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm the first person to load up a build guide and pull up POB and try to figure out exactly what I'm playing and the best routes to take and all that fun jazz. But for the first couple of days of Path of Exile 2, I'm planning on playing, just pseudo in the blind. A little bit of cat tax for today's video. Say hello, homie. What's up, man? Oh, okay. But going into PoE 2 and not really knowing what to expect and not knowing how the bosses are going to be or not knowing, who's it's and what's it's, I'm really genuinely very excited. I don't know what to expect in Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. I haven't had the opportunity yet to watch video playthroughs of Act 1 and 2. All I've ever seen so far has been just interviews with Jonathan and the hype trailer that I'm sure a lot of you guys saw. And to me, that's been more than enough to really satisfy my needs to want to log into PoE. Now, if you're going to remain spoiler free, I give you a lot of credit. I think that's probably one of the better ways to approach it. And we've seen Neversink say that loot filter is going to take a little bit. We've heard that POB might take a little bit as well. And overall, I'm okay with it. I fully plan to mess up. I fully explore, I fully plan to explore the skill tree. The only thing that I'm kind of like, I'm pretty much spoiling for myself is I'm double and triple checking what I want to log in for my ascendancy. I do know I want to play Monk. That is 100% a given. But outside of that, I don't know how much I personally in the first day or two want to re-roll. As somebody who is a chronic re-roller, I fully plan to play Monk for approximately I would like to play a while, but I mean, like if I see a really cool chronomancer, I might just re-roll. I don't know. I'm really I don't want to, but I really want to play Monk. Now, for the rest of you that are into spoilers or want to know a little bit more in depth how I've come to my decision, well, this next section is going to be more, towards you guys. So if you're, if you click off now, I get it. Just, let me know, But let's talk a little bit more spoiler. In front of me is a website called PoE2DB. This website, I'll have a link for you down below, is tailored more towards giving you information about what's going on with Path of Exile 2. I've used this website a little bit. You guys have recommended it to me to check out, and I've used it for really interesting things. I watched the interview that Jonathan had with Talkative Try. I plan on watching the DM and Gazzy interview with Jonathan, and overall, I really enjoy watching and listening to Jonathan speak about the game, and it gives me a lot of hype and hope for the future of Path of Exile 2. Seeing these guys interview Jonathan and seeing them talk and giving a little bit of tidbits of information about PoE 2 has been really cool and an insanely eye-opening experience. That's how we learn that you can't really swap your ascendancies, and that's one of the things that made me go from like, I'm fully going to play everything in the blind to I'm going to do a little bit of digging in information. Now, this website gives us a lot of everything, and keep in mind with this website, take everything with a grain of salt. Path of Exile 2 is constantly changing, and things that we know today might not be what we know tomorrow. So if you see something really cool on here and you're like starting to build and plan around it, just keep in mind that the next time you revisit the site or the next time you look at something between now and the release in 7 days, a lot of this could really change. The real upside to this website is I'm allowed to click on character class, and then I can really begin to explore. And for me, like I said, today's video is mostly going to focus on the monk because as much as I'm interested in the other classes, it's not my plans for League Start or for like the game's release. My plan is to literally dive in and play monk and just really explore it. And one of the cool things that we have going for us right now is we have access to, the monk ascendancies. We've seen 2 of them. We've gotten a couple of looks at what's going on, and overall it's given me a really nice ability to kind of like take a look at how I want to play it. Now, I'm still not 100% certain on which monk I'm going to 100% log in, because until we get these missing nodes, I really don't have full information to make a really informed decision. Odds are what's going to happen is I'm going to do whatever the ascendancy is or the trial, whether it be Sanctum or Ultimatum, and I'm going to get to the altar to ascend, and I'm going to like really spend a good solid minute triple checking everything before I make a decision. Overall, though, there are 2 types of monks. There's the Invoker monk, which we're going to talk about, and there's the Chayula monk, which, they are both drastically different. One has, an emphasis on the dark side of monk, and one has an emphasis on the light side of the monk, kind of following that whole yin-yang theory, the whole like one good, one bad. And I think that's really cool. Now, the Invoker monk gets a couple of skills that, like I said, at the time of recording are viable and exist, but could change between now and release. The first one that we see doubles our energy shield. That is a huge, absolutely monstrous defensive layer. If Path of Exile 2 can be anything like PoE 1, you're talking about making a class that has like 10,000, 11,000 energy shield, and it just immediately gets doubled, which, I mean, like, that just seems really good. On top of that, we have I Am the Blizzard, which gains 10% of damage as extra cold damage on freezing enemies, creating chilled ground. That just seems really strong. 10% of damage as extra lightning damage, 25% chance to shock enemies to create shock grounds. Unbound Avatar, which we see currently in the game with the Warden. If you don't know what Unbound Avatar is, it's a skill that lets you, just pretty much become this like ultimate powerhouse for a little bit of time and just deal a whole bajillions of damage. And then we have Elemental Expression, which triggers Elemental Expression on melee crit. That one I'm not too sure what that does yet, but I'm imagining it is a huge amount of damage when we crit. So we have this like really interesting class that revolves around like extra cold, extra lightning, doubling our energy shield, getting a huge elemental attack in, and just if it plays anything like Warden currently in Path of Exile 1, overall this class is probably a huge DPS powerhouse. That's not to say that things won't change, and not to say that, we don't know what these other skills are, but we can see right now this is Unbound Avatar, so I'm assuming it's a cold lightning hybrid class, which would make things relatively interesting. The other side of the coin, and the side that's really got myself interested in monk and a lot of you guys interested in monk, is the Acolyte of Chayula. This class seems very interesting because of the way that it's going to presumably combo off with a lot of the skill tree. We know currently in Path of Exile 1, if I were to swap back over to the game and bring up the skill tree, we know that if we were to play a mana-based character and we were to take, not Corrupted Soul, but if we were to take Mind Over Matter in current Path of Exile 1 says 40% of damage taken is taken from mana before life, and in Path of Exile 2, Mind Over Matter from leaks tells us that 100% of our damage is taken from mana before life. So Knowing that and seeing what this class is doing is leading to some really interesting things. First and foremost, the monk or the acolyte of Shayula has the ability for mana leech, and mana leech is instant. So that means every time we hit, every time we do anything, we just have 100% of instant leech. It doesn't have, 10% of leech is instant. It doesn't say 20%. It just says mana leech is instant. So that tells me the first time we hit, we just get all of our mana back. And if we're using our mana as a buffer for our life, well, I mean, it's instant leech is just notoriously extremely powerful. It isn't an absurdly monstrous defensive layer in Path of Exile 1, and we only get 10% of life as instant leech, or 10% of leech is instant. So the fact that this says mana leech is instant is completely and utterly just mind blowing. The other thing that says that's really interesting to me, it says mana leech also affects energy shield. So wait a minute. So you're telling me that my mana leech affects recovery for energy shield and my mana leech is instant? Does that mean that my recovery for energy shield is also instant? Does that mean if I get 10, 11, 12, 13, whatever, thousands of energy shield and my leech is instant and my mind over matter protects my mana, and then we have, CI? There's something really, really interesting going on here. I know I said CI, and there's probably one or two people watching this video that have gotten to here and like, what the heck is CI? Well, CI is a skill in Path of Exile, and it's another very interesting skill that ties really well into the Heil mind over matter combo, where CI, or chaos inoculation, makes our maximum life become 1, and we're immune to chaos damage, which usually a lot of people will pair with the trickster ascendancy so that they can be immune to chaos damage and have a ton of energy shield. We also have Eldritch Battery that says spend energy shield before mana, and our energy shield protects our mana instead of our life. So we combine CI with Eldritch Battery with mind over matter, and then we have this character that becomes completely immune to chaos damage, has tons and tons of energy shield, and 100% of our damage goes to our mana. There's gonna be some crazy combinations. Even if we don't take CI and we take nodes like this Shayula's gift that gives us maximum chaos resistance, and our chaos resistance is doubled, and then we can use our life to put auras, which might actually be the play. So we just kind of go low life, put all of our auras on life, get really low life, put all of our energy shield on mana, use Eldritch Battery, use instant leech, use mind over matter, have 3 or 4 auras based on life, assuming you could do things based on life and not fully based off of spirit. And you just start having this really weird conundrum of combinations. Now I know in Path of Exile 2 there's spirit. I know somebody's immediately raising their hand and saying auras can only go on spirit, and yeah, I know, but let a boy dream. Let a boy dream. So I don't know. I'm really torn between the two ascendancies just on these two aspects alone. Between either doing a crazy amount of elemental damage and then becoming this avatar and just being unbound and dealing more massive amounts of damage, or trying to do this interesting dark themed Shayula based monk that's just dealing with these really interesting defensive layers. And simply due to the fact that we understand how powerful Trickster is, this has to be strong, right? This has to absolutely be strong. On top of that, we haven't even looked at the other nodes that this character gets. We've only simply looked at the 3 nodes, and we'd still have room for another node. So it's getting really interesting. Into the Breach we'll look at in a minute. I think that Into the Breach is on PoEDB. We could pull that up. But another really cool one is Embrace the Darkness, which is removal spirit. Base maximum darkness is 100. And for each life or energy shield lost to damage, reserve 1 darkness instead, if possible. Darkness reservation lasts 10 seconds, plus 5 to maximum darkness. And this is really interesting because the node after it says gain 1% of damage as extra chaos damage per 20 unreserved darkness. So if we gain 5 darkness per level and we get 100 levels, it's 500 maximum darkness, which gives us 600, and then we gain 1% per 20 reservation. So we just get this massive amount of extra chaos damage, but we have to not get hit. So if we get hit, we reserve darkness, and it makes this really interesting playstyle where the first hit is just insanely juiced damage, and then it tapers down. But if we don't get hit, but we one-shot everything, or maybe it's a really good bossing skill because you have to like dodge a bunch of, oh, I can't, dude, I'm so excited, man. You could, I mean, I'm sure I'm just rambling at this point and like all the gears are turning and like I don't know what's going on, and oh my god, there's so many possibilities, and I really need this game to come out because I really want to play it. And even thinking about everything so far, we don't know what this does or this does or this does or these little nodes. Oh my god, there's so many possibilities. This could literally do anything. Ugh. Okay, breathe. Okay, we're focused. Okay, so I guess we don't know what Into the Breach does, but there are other really cool skills that Monk seems to have. We have our quarterstaffs, which give us chance to block. We have our quarterstaff that gives us increased range. We've seen a unique quarterstaff that gives us a chance to bleed. You know, we could just see the base numbers on these quarterstaffs, and they hit hard. They hit quick. And by the looks of it, just from looking at these, like you're talking about a 10% base crit on a two-hander, which I don't know if that's like good or bad compared to PoE 1, but it seems really good to me, especially when you start getting like just increased range to hit mobs. Like sign me up. We've also seen some really interesting like skills that revolve 100% around quarterstaffs. You see you have Falling Thunder here that just gives you 60% of fizzes extra lightning, 25% more damage per power charge consumed. So this just becomes like this crazy, you know, power charge stacking lightning based attack. We have this one that converts 60% to cold, and it just blasts and bursts out 8 waves of cold. We've seen Killing Palm, which has Culling Strike, and it's just a big massive fizz attack that can't be evaded, that has a high chance to crit. We've seen Ice Crystals, you know, the Frozen Locust, which is like the, you know, the Ice Crystal has barrier and gives us a little bit of like barrier, which is like really nice. The bell's got to be my favorite thing. I love the bell in D3, and I'm sure the bell's gonna be insane here. So I'm just overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed, and I'm excited, and I don't know where to begin, and I don't know what to do. And this is why I was saying at the beginning of this video, going over and looking at all this is like fantastic. It looks so good, and like I fully plan on logging in and clicking things and having them mess up, because there's going to be so many cool things to try. Like this mark says like hits against marks enemy cost 28% more freeze buildup. Well, so like, does this mark just mean that we just like giga freeze every, like whatever we're attacking is just completely frozen? And then we have this one that consumes all power charges, and you fuse your quarterstaff with electricity for duration, adding lightning damage and lightning shockwave to your quarterstaff attacks. Like all of these skills sound so good. You know, I'm just baffled. And then here we have just like flat chaos damage to the hand of Chayula. Hits can't be evaded. Just tons of critical strike chance, increased effect of socketed curse, increased effect of socketed marks. It's just like all of it just sounds really good. Oh, there's also, don't forget, there's Flicker Strike, and Flicker Strike requires a quarterstaff now, and we could teleport and strike 3 additional times per power charge. I'm not saying that I'm gonna use Flicker Strike, Chaos, CI, Mind Over Matter, Monk explode everywhere build, but I'm saying that I'm probably gonna play Flicker Strike Monk at some point, because this, bro, I'm just going in circles now because my excitement levels are completely off the charts. Now, keep in mind, I've said this once, I will say this again, and I will say this a third, fourth, and fifth time between now and release. And even after release, Jonathan has said time and time again, things are heavily subjected to change. So if you're watching this in the, you know, in the near future, and you're like, oh, the game's been out a week and this is all changed, well, we knew that was possibly going to happen. Currently though, Monk looks really good, and I don't know how you plan on logging in any other class, but if you are logging in a different class, or there's something that really excites you, please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear what you guys are playing, because as a company who chronically rerolls, well, I mean, like, you just gotta be like, just do it, and I might just actually just pull the trigger. But I really want to play Monk. I'm really excited about Monk. I really like the dark side theming of Monk. I really like the light side theming of Monk. And overall, honestly, I don't know which of the two ascendancies I'm going to pick. They both sound really, really, really good and really awesome. And I might just click one and then re-roll into the other later on. I know you can't change ascendancies, but You know, I'm no stranger to re-rolling, especially if something ends up being a lot better. My biggest fear with Monk, though, let's be real, my biggest absolute fear with Monk is rolling into Monk and having this ascendancy be really strong only when you have gear. Very similar to how, if you played Path of Exile 1, how the Lightning Strike Trickster is really powerful once you have the gear to swap into it. And my biggest fear is that this might be strong, but only after you have gear. So there's like a world where you're supposed to play Invoker Monk until you have gear, and then re-roll your character into the other monk and equip all the gear, and then it kind of like really pops off. My overall hope, in all seriousness, is between now and then that, Jonathan, if you do see this, or you or somebody at GG see this, you guys really reconsider the whole letting us change our ascendancies. It's been really cool in Gauntlet style events, and outside of like really Gauntlet style events, one of the beautiful things about Path of Exile is the ability to have tons of freedom to do a lot of things. I do love the idea that characters have character identity. I do love the idea that the ascendancies have these ascendancies and these like identities tied to them. But I would like to have this weird power fantasy where I play Invoker Monk, and then, you know, something crazy happens, or we kill a boss, or like we get some cool loot, or like we get something, and then you know, the identity of your monk changes because, you know, he, I don't know, snapped or became a little dark, or you play a dark monk and you find some really cool item that would really drag your character towards the light, and now you have this like bond with your character who started as like this light-based character and then went dark, you know, very similar to like a Star Wars theming, or you have this dark-based character who found the light and just came over to the other side. And I don't know, well, it might sound a little weird and a little awkward, to me, it's just something I really want to do and really want to explore and really want to try. But, you know, overall, that's my ideas and kind of where I'm going with Path of Exile 2 and my overall plan. You know, we'll see what happens between now and the next 7 days. I plan on putting out a ton more content for PoE 2. I fully plan on exploring PoE 2 and checking out the Atlas, finding you guys really cool strategies. And whenever Blight does eventually drop with Path of Exile 2, I plan on hopping into that as well. But for now, friends, I'm going to get this video out to you guys. I'm going to go explore some more PoE 2 information. If you see me on stream and you want to come in and talk Path of Exile 2, or you have a really cool video or some cool pictures, or you found some really neat information you want to share, please bring it over. I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to take a look at it. But for now, friends, I'm going to get this video out to you guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.